Hello and welcome back to Geopolitics Worldwide. In 2021, it was revealed that the U.S. National Security Agency, or NSA, had worked with Danish intelligence to spy on senior officials from several Western European countries, including Sweden, France, Norway, and Germany. It was reported that the NSA had wiretapped former German Chancellor Angela Merkel's phone calls for decades. While the U.S. spying claims are already known by 2021, the news of Denmark's involvement reignited concerns in Europe. This raises the question of why these countries, which share similar Western values and have been close allies for decades, would spy on each other instead of collaborating. However, history shows that allies spying on each other is not uncommon. It's almost standard practice in the world of espionage. The high stakes involved in spying on allies beg the question of what intelligence could be so valuable to justify the risks of being caught and the diplomatic fallout that would follow. The 2013 leaks by Edward Snowden revealed the extent to which the U.S. spies on its allies, demonstrating that the NSA had the technological capacity to reach almost anyone, friend or foe. Although Merkel condemned the revelations of phone tapping, the public outrage soon faded. Ironically, just 2 years later, it was revealed that Germany's intelligence service, the BND, had also been spying on allied nations, including the US and several European Union member states. These revelations were not surprising. When news broke in 2013 about the US spying on Germany, it also came to light that the NSA had been spying on 3 French presidents, Jacques Chirac, Nicolas Sarkozy, and François Hollande, among others. Bernard Squarcini, the former head of the DGSE, the French equivalent of the CIA, admitted that the French also spies on the US, saying that all countries, allies or not, engage in espionage against each other all the time. The US engages in espionage on French commercial and industrial interests, and the French do the same to the US because it's in their international interest to protect their companies. This revelation isn't surprising. It's well known that economic espionage is a key motive. For example, in the 1980s and 1990s, the French intelligence agency DGSE conducted economic espionage against the United States. French agents targeted American companies to give French businesses a competitive edge in various industries. They were accused of spying on IBM, one of the biggest tech companies at the time, alongside Microsoft. Reports suggested that DGSE agents stole proprietary information and bribed employees to gain trade secrets from IBM, aiming to boost France's position in the growing field of information technology. Former CIA Director Robert Gates even claimed that French intelligence agents broke into hotel rooms to steal laptops from prominent businessmen visiting the country. There are also reports that French intelligence was involved in industrial espionage to benefit Airbus, helping it compete against American rival Boeing. This aligns with the activities of the Echelon Global Signals Intelligence Network, which was established in the late 60s to gather intelligence on the Soviet Union and its Eastern Bloc allies. The network was operated by a coalition of 5 Anglosphere nations: the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, known as the Five Eyes Alliance. Even after the Soviet Union collapsed, the Echelon program remained operational. As the program's existence gradually became public, European leaders grew concerned. If Echelon was initially meant to collect intelligence on the Soviets, why was it still running and who was it targeting now? These concerns were validated when whistleblowers revealed that the program had shifted to collecting emails, text messages, and other smartphone data on a massive scale. Worse, the participating countries were allegedly intercepting communications from their own allies, including political leaders and business figures in Europe. This was particularly troubling since the Five Eyes countries are allied with nearly every European nation. It's easy to understand why EU countries were upset about the formation of a spying network that could potentially be used against them by nations considered allies. After years of rumors and whistleblower claims, the European Parliament established a temporary committee in 2000 to investigate the Echelon network. The committee looked into its existence and impact on European states and released a report a year later confirming the network's existence and detailing its ability to intercept global communications. Although the report didn't provide definitive proof of economic espionage against EU states, it did suggest that Echelon had likely intercepted phone calls at Airbus during the mid-1990s. The report claimed that this spying centered around a multi-billion-dollar plane order from the Saudi Arabian government. This incident was seen as a possible retaliation to France's earlier espionage efforts against Boeing. As a result, France allegedly lost a lucrative contract for Airbus. Britain, the only country at the time that was part of both the EU and Echelon, was viewed with suspicion by European ministers. The existence of the shadowy group monitoring global communications was confirmed as real. In 2015, WikiLeaks published documents revealing that the US had been conducting surveillance on Japan as far back as 2006, during the first term of Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. The intercepted communications included topics such as the US-Japan relations, trade negotiations, and climate change strategies. The documents also listed high-priority targets, including the Japanese Minister of Economy, Trade, and Industry, Mitsubishi's natural gas division, and a government VIP line. Some of these documents were marked for sharing with the Five Eyes Alliance. Another reason for this friendly espionage is security. While it may seem unnecessary for allies to spy on each other, there is a need to assess individual members of allied nations, who may not always be able to evaluate themselves accurately. For example, in 2018, Austrian Foreign Minister Karin Niesel made headlines by inviting Russian President Vladimir Putin to her wedding, where they danced together in front of guests. But this event was notable not only for Putin's presence, but also because it raised concerns about Austria's alignment with Russia, especially since it occurred just months after Russia was accused of poisoning former spy Sergei Skripal and his daughter Yulia with the nerve agent Novichok in the UK. While Austrian intelligence might not have seen this as an issue, other nations couldn't be sure of Austria's judgment without conducting their own assessments. This led to a justification for surveillance. In fact, the day before her wedding, it was reported that several Western intelligence agencies had stopped sharing sensitive information with Austria, fearing that their secrets might be passed on to Moscow. The reason for spying on allies stems often from concerns about potential shifts in loyalty or undisclosed political or ideological alignments, which can change the situation overnight. For example, this proved beneficial when Austrian Foreign Minister Karin Niesel, who had raised concerns by cozying up to Russia, moved there after leaving office in 2019. This ties into the concept of ideological espionage. Take James Jesus Angleton, the former CIA counterintelligence chief during the Cold War, who even accused major world leaders like Swedish Prime Minister Olof Palme, West German Chancellor Willy Brandt, and British Prime Minister Harold Wilson of being Soviet assets. A prime example of spying on allies for security reasons is the case of Jonathan Pollard, a U.S. Navy intelligence analyst who was convicted of spying for Israel, one of America's closest allies. Pollard passed classified documents to Israel from 1984 until his arrest in 1985, leaking sensitive information about Soviet weaponry, Arab nations, and U.S. intelligence methods. As a Jewish American and supporter of Israel, Pollard claimed he was motivated by a belief that the U.S. was withholding crucial information from Israel for its survival. His suspicious behavior led to an investigation and ultimately his arrest. Pollard's actions strained U.S.-Israeli relations and highlighted how bold espionage can be, even among close allies. Although sentenced to life in prison, he served 30 years and now lives in Israel, where he is considered a hero. The situation illustrates the tension between the country's principles and its interests. Intelligence agencies must weigh the risk of being caught in espionage against the potential benefits. Israel, which relies heavily on U.S. arms, likely understood the risks of Pollard being exposed, but deemed them acceptable. This wasn't an isolated incident. In 2019, it was revealed that Israel had planted mobile phone spying devices near the White House and other sensitive locations in Washington, D.C. A former intelligence officer remarked that the U.S. does the same in Tel Aviv. From 2004 to 2014, Canada sent back 5 of 21 people barred from engaging in espionage against Canada on acting contrary to its interest. Most of these cases involve the US, followed by China, India, and Sweden. These are Canada's literal neighbors, with whom it has excellent relations, showing that even countries with close ties engage in espionage. This practice isn't limited to Western or NATO nations. Russia and China, despite being united against the West, also spy on each other. In 2023, the director of a top Russian science institute and 2 scientists specializing in hypersonic missiles were accused of passing secrets to China. While some claim the charges are unfounded, numerous scientists have been imprisoned for similar accusations, suggesting that there is some truth to it. In the intelligence world, there's a saying popular among U.S. officials: "We have no friends, only targets." This reflects the reality of how espionage works.